Faulks novel. Sebastian Faulks, good afternoon.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
Good. Good to see you. Ben Barnes is here as well, who plays the lead role in Birdsong. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
And congratulations. It's a triumph. That sounds like a theatre-type review calling something a triumph, doesn't it? But I loved it.
I love the way you said it. It sounded very official. Like
It's officially a triumph.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, basically, my view is, of course, the only view in the world of theatre that counts. You both well know that. And I just wanted to bring you in here, tell you how much I loved it, and now you can go.
Thanks very much. See you later.
Well, triumph, that's not quite as good as one of the reviewers said Ben Barnes is perfect, but that's just ridiculous because nobody's perfect. So I believe that's his new nickname, actually, among the cast, Nobody, because nobody's perfect.
Well, hang on a minute. I read an interview with you where you said that when you met Ben, you said to him that he is exactly as you imagined Stephen, the lead character, to be.
Certainly the way he looks was quite uncanny when I went to see a rehearsal earlier this year, I think in February, and it really was quite strange because I hadn't really described the man very closely in the book. Nowadays, novels, you don't really give people, you don't talk about the mobile mouth or the deep eyes or the creases, blah, blah, blah. You know, that went out of fashion a long time ago. You leave it to the reader to imagine. But in my mind, he looked amazingly as Ben does. So I did a bit of a sort of double take when I first saw him.
Yeah. Ben, let's talk about the book for a moment. You said that this is one of about 3 books that made you physically weep.
Absolutely true. Yeah, I'd read it twice before the offer or even the idea of playing Stephen sort of came to be. They tried to make a film version of it several times, which I'd auditioned for on more than one occasion.
Really?
Because you kind of read as a sort of young actor, you sort of read these descriptions of people, and Stephen isn't really described, but he is described as, you know, sort of being dark and tall and thin in English and in his 20s, which was enough for me. You know, I was just thinking, right, well, I can play this at some point, and then of course you get totally involved and lost and disappear into the story. So I'd had some involvement with it, and then got asked to audition for the play, and just thought, well, absolutely, of course.
One way or another, I'm going to play this part.
You know, the story based on Sebastian's novel, and you just think, well, I have to try to get the part if I possibly can.
Let's talk a bit later about why the film version hasn't happened. I think there's been something like 5 attempts, hasn't there? So,
at least, yeah.
To turn it into a movie. Sebastian, you wrote the book quite a long time ago, 1993. Wasn't it?
That's right, when it came out, yeah.
I'm pretty sure everyone knows about Birdsong. If we just sort of précis it briefly and explain a bit about both the book and the play, of course. It's set during World War I.
Yeah, it starts in 1910. A young Englishman from London goes to work in Amiens, which is then a sort of rather industrial town in northern France where they have a textile industry. He lodges with a family. He falls in love with the woman who's the wife of the house owner and the man also who is his employer. They have this very, very passionate love affair, which comes to an unhappy ending, and we then wind forward 6 years and we find Stephen in the middle of the First World War, and the story of his relationship with Isabel appears to be over, but as the war progresses we learn a lot about him and the people he meets and his friends and colleagues and so on during the war, but also this thing with Isabel, the love affair, is not dead. And it goes on, and the book is pretty long and the play is not that long, and there's a sort of modern bit in the book as well. But it's...
And that's gone.
That's not part of the play, no. You know, to get it down into a length that people could endure without, you know, getting a pain in the backside, some bits had to be trimmed.
And do you think, I mean, you heard Ben there say that he cried when he read the book, and it's an extremely powerful book. Do you think that the play is in touch with the original emotion of the novel, if you like?
I do. Rachel Wagstaff, who wrote the play, came to me and said she wanted to write a play of it, and I was at first rather discouraging. I said, you know, if I'd wanted a play, I'd have written a play, not a novel.
Is that what you said?
Yes. I thought, well, I'd beat this girl up a bit and see if she could take it. And she was very, very resilient and very persistent and very polite. And it was quite clear from the draft she showed me that she had really understood the characters, and the emotions that she was going to put forward on the stage were very, very, very close to, you know, the feelings that I've been writing about, and the way that she'd written the characters, particularly Stephen and Isabel and Jack, who's another important character.
Sounds like you're almost rude to Rachel Wagstaff there.
I'd have been terrified.
Yeah. Because she's kind of paying you a compliment, isn't she, and saying, I've read this book, it's wonderful, I'd like to turn it into a play.
But I'd read a lot of attempted film scripts which were really not much good, and I didn't really think it was worth persevering unless she was pretty robust.
Why not do the script yourself?
I didn't really want to write a play. I've no experience of the theatre, and writing for the theatre is a particular art.
Yeah.
It's not the same as writing a novel.
I saw a quote of yours where you said something along the lines of turning a book into a play is like trying to turn a painting into a sculpture.
Yeah, that was in my early discouraging phase. In my late encouraging phase, it was, Rachel, darling, you've made the most wonderful sculpture. But it came alive when the actors came in.
Is there anything that the theatre can give it that a book can't? Is there any advantage, actually, that you have in a theatre?
Yes, it gives you a kind of intimacy, a very exciting intimacy, and you see flesh and blood people, and the rapport between Stephen, played by Ben, and Isabel, played by Genevieve O'Reilly, is you're very close to it physically, and it's kind of, at moments, it's almost embarrassing to watch, two people that much in love.
I was going to say there's a sort of voyeuristic aspect to it, I think, with certain parts of the play. I mean, when you're reading a book and you're reading a chapter about an episode where it is sort of the love scenes, or the scenes with this sort of 15-year-old character Lisette,
Yes.
sort of very, very awkward scenes. If you're reading that in the safety of your bedroom or the safety of your sofa, and you can distance yourself slightly from what's happening, and whilst it's awkward and you're sort of flipping pages to find out what happens, you're not confronted with the imagery of it, which can really make people gasp and sit back in their seats. You can literally pin people back in their seats in a theatre with a moment like that if it's executed properly, I think, because you can as an actor, you can hear the gasps as well in sort of certain key moments during the
I think
play.
Ben's right.
Yeah.
You can't look away on the stage.
Yeah.
There's a scene when Genevieve as Isabel and Ben as Stephen meet again, having not seen each other for a long time, and I don't really listen to the play anymore because I kind of know the story between you. But I listen to the audience, and the audience in that is a long scene, isn't it? But there, I mean, you can hear them breathing, you can hear the intake of breath, and that's the only sound you can hear in the theatre. It's just extraordinary.
That is extraordinary. I was thinking about this as I walked to my car afterwards. It made me think about what is distinct about each medium, what you can get from a film that you can't get from a book or a play, what you get from a play that you can't book or a film, from radio plays and etc. And I was thinking, yeah, it's about that. It's partly about the shared experience, which you can get in a cinema, but it's also there's a few visual tricks as well. I mean, there's a very clever bit at the end of the first part, which I won't give away, which you could only do in a theatre. Do you know that the moment I'm talking about?
I do.
It's entirely unique, and it's
there's something about, as you said, about the communal experience in the theatre, but there's also something about a sort of shared responsibility for the evening between the actors, between the company and the audience, because we're so used to sitting on our sofas and being able to, even now, sort of pause live TV and go and make a cup of tea and come back and sit down and relax and say, right, go entertain me a bit more. And in the theatre, you have to be prepared to, sort of book your tickets, go there at the time that it's specified to start, sit down and really engage and put something into it if you want to get something out.
That's true, and as well as distinctive visual tricks, it's also, as you said, Sebastian, flesh and blood people in front of you. When you do some travel, but I thought a lot about your performance. It's terrific, and it's you flesh and blood people in front of you, which the cinema doesn't have. And it's also there's almost a physicality of the performance, and the fact that it seemed to me to be emotionally draining. And
but you also know that it's going to be individual and specific to you. That evening will not be ever replicated.
There's always something
it's
slightly unique
completely different every night. Some moments vary wildly in terms of responses. Some moments will get laughter, sometimes in places where it hasn't been intended at all, and sometimes as an actor that's confusing. But it's not necessarily ever a bad thing.
Let's take some travel and come back and talk some more about Birdsong, which if you're visiting the West End anytime soon, I would urge you to see. Sebastian Faulks and Ben Barnes are here, and we'll talk about Chronicles of Narnia because Ben plays Caspian in the Chronicles of Narnia. Lindsay Hipgrave, what's happening out there?
Thanks, Richard. Delays on the M6. We've got slow traffic southbound from junction 11A at the M6 toll down to 7 at Great Bar, and northbound from junction 5 Castle Bromwich up to junction 10 at Walsall. It's just the volume of traffic, but also there is bad weather in the area, which is not helping matters. Got strong winds and heavy rain. The M1 southbound, there's a broken down vehicle between Flitwick and Dunstable junctions 12 to 11 causing delays. Still slow traffic on the M20 London bound between junction 2 Brands Hatch and the M25 at Swanley interchange. This is following an earlier accident on the M26, which is all clear now. In County Down, the A2 Newcastle Road, that's closed at Bloody Bridge because of a fallen tree. The A421 at Kempston Hardwick, that's still closed both ways at Woburn Road. Lorry has overturned on the roundabout there at the junction with the A5134. It's causing eastbound queues now back to the M1 at junction 13 Bedford. Westbound queues back to High Road. And there's an accident on the A102 northbound at the Woolwich Road flyover. That's blocking 2 lanes, causing queues and delays of up to 45 minutes on trains between Darlington and Newcastle. The travel hotline 03700 100 500. Lindsay Hipgrave, 5 Live Travel.
At the third stroke, there will be a sweet English victory.
And it's Swan who's taken the final wicket. It's all over. England have regained the Ashes.
It's time for the Ashes. 25, 11, 2010.
On 5 Live Sports Extra.
It is nearly 3 minutes to 3. We'll talk about George W. Bush later. He is my Monday obsession. George W. Bush. Is it time to reassess his legacy? Has a harsh media been unfair on the guy? His memoirs are coming out this year. What do you think? Coming out this week. What do you think? 85058, bacon@bbc.co.uk. Sebastian Faulks is here, author of Birdsong, and Ben Barnes is here as well, star of Birdsong in the West End, star of the Chronicles of Narnia, where you play Caspian. There's a third one coming out, right?
There is, in a few weeks, actually.
And the premieres at the same time as you're playing Stephen on stage?
Tuesday the 30th of November. I know this because I have to go and do the red carpet and then run 15 metres to the theatre, do the performance and then run back again.
That's going to be an emotionally complex night.
It is. I'm going to miss the Queen.
Oh, the Queen is going to be there.
The Queen is coming.
You'd think you'd give the understudy a chance, wouldn't you?
I know. Has the understudy had a chance? How long's the play been running now?
It opened at the end of September.
Yes, we've
7 or 8 weeks.
7 or 8.
You've not missed any yet?
I haven't missed any yet.
Because for the understudy,
I did break several ribs in the very first performance, though.
Did you? How?
I did. I have all the officers have whistles in their pockets for when they went over the top, and I reached and an explosion went off, and so when an explosion goes off, you hit the deck, and the whistle kind of cracked some of my ribs. But I didn't know what I'd done until about a week later, so I didn't have any excuse to miss any.
It must be tough for the understudy, because you've got a lot of lines. That's so much dialogue, and the poor old understudy has to learn the entire part and might never get to play it.
They get to have an understudy run, don't they? They get actually to perform it. But is there an audience there?
They do. They've invited an audience, I think.
Just for the understudy to do it.
Yeah, so they will get at least one crack at it.